We are up to episode 101. We made it past 100.
We did. We survived 100 episodes.
Crazy, Hambone.
This is amazing.
We are back. This is My Thai TV or My Thai Happy Hour. It's so weird because we're now on TV again.
I've heard it both ways.
Not really on TV. We could be on TV.
You could actually broadcast us on your television.
We're on the social medias.
We're on all the Twitters, the Instagrams.
We are so bad. Hey, Hambone, are you a millennial?
No.
What year were you born?
1979. I just missed it.
Oh my God, you are like the fringe millennial.
I am so on the fringe. Yeah, I'm technically a Gen Xer.
I am a Gen Xer. Our guest today is a Gen Xer. However, he's knee deep in millennials and can talk to them, so we've got him on. But I want to know, Hambone, what do we have in store for the kids today?
So what we have in store for the kids today, we are going to talk about not one, but two Fyre Festival documentaries. Two.
Like battling documentaries.
Dueling documentaries.
I'm so excited for this.
We're going to talk about The Punisher a little bit. If we got some time, we're going to talk about Star Trek. And I'm going to teach you how to make a cocktail this week.
We're also going to talk about True Detectives.
And we're going to talk about True Detectives.
I'm so excited to talk about how that show actually survived the shit can and it's back. It's pretty good.
I watched a lot of TV this week, everybody.
Okay.
A lot.
Let's get going. My Thai Happy Hour. So we have a great guest for us today. My high school buddy.
Yeah.
Currently internet famous because of his Audible chapter on Chris Gethard's new book.
There you
How
go.
to Lose Well. Mike, thank you for joining us today. We have the great Mike Dolan with us. Where are you from? Can we say, like, what would you give your discography as?
I'm a creative director. I work at the news, but I'm a proud New Jersey boy. That's the most important thing. Although I spent the last decade and change in Brooklyn, so.
You can take the boy out of West Orange, but you can't take the West Orange out of the boy.
Certainly not.
I've learned that from Mike Ness, a different Mike.
Different Mike.
Because then it was White Trash, not West Orange, but I think it sounds much better.
Same.
So we're going to talk today about the Fyre Festival, but first you're going to teach us how to make a cocktail.
I am. So this is still the month of January, so it is still AKA month. And tonight we're going to take you through a drink called the Test Pilot.
The Test Pilot. Yeah, open that book up.
So,
you're still using credit Beach Bum Berry every time.
Of course, I love Beach Bum Berry. This is the Sippin' Safari by Jeff Berry, Beach Bum Berry, the 10th anniversary edition. I am super in love with this book. As you know, I'm not much of a reader, but I'm reading this.
Awesome.
So what's cool about this drink is that it is another drink that has multiple different names. Now, the drink, as it's known, is known in most places as the Jet Pilot, but today we're going to show you how to make the Test Pilot. So now what's cool about the Test Pilot is this. It is a rum-based cocktail, as they all are supposed to be. So this is going to be a half ounce of freshly squeezed lime juice, a half ounce of falernum. Falernum.
I gotta say it like it's my favorite word.
Falernum.
Yes.
1 tablespoon of Cointreau, or if you don't have Cointreau, you can use some kind of orange liqueur, dealer's choice. 1.5 ounces of dark Jamaican rum, which is definitely something you're going to have on deck if you're a tiki aficionado. Did I say that right? Aficionado?
No, it's aficionado.
Aficionado. See, that's close. I said it right. We have 3/4 ounce of light Puerto Rican rum, 1 dash of Angostura bitters. You're going to put in 6 drops of Pernod, so you know that bottle of absinthe that's sitting there. We're teaching you how to get rid of it here on My Thai Happy Hour. You're going to use 1 cup of crushed ice. You're going to put it all in a blender. Blend for 5 seconds. Pour unstrained into a double old-fashioned glass, adding more crushed ice to fill, and then you garnish as you desire.
So double old-fashioned would be just more alcohol.
Yes.
Or it's just a bigger glass.
It's just a bigger glass.
You're a bartender. I was never a bartender, so I'm really not good with the glassware.
You know, glassware is tricky because in most instances, glassware where you go to any kind of bar, they're going to have a rocks glass, they're going to have a highball glass, they're going to have a martini glass, and then just your pint glass is average pint, where unless it is a bar, like say when we went to the Polynesian, where they had very specific drinks for the cocktails that weren't tiki mugs. So this is still coming from Don's Drink Disport, 1941 and 1971. At Don the Beachcombers, it was called the Test Pilot. At the Lanai, it was the Ace Pilot. At the Polynesian, the Mach 30. Bali High had it as the Jet Pilot, and Mauna Kea Room had it as the Astronaut. So from Sippin' Safari 10th Anniversary Edition, a.k.a. month of January, there's your drink for the day.
One day I need to take you to his bar in New Orleans.
Oh, yeah.
Because it is one of the best tiki bars in the world.
I bet.
And I think everybody needs to make a pilgrimage out there. I think everybody but you has been out there.
Well, technically, a little while back, when I was drinking a little too much, I was warned to not ever go to New New Orleans because I'd die. But I think I can handle it now.
Yes, we got to get you there in Vegas.
I've been to Vegas.
So we have
Never going back to Vegas.
We have Mike Dolan with us today. We thought we needed somebody who could really, really get into the mind of millennial influencers.
Millennial whisper.
Because we are so far like beyond that. Like we are so what's the word? We are so like 6 degrees of separation, which is not that far. But
Now,
you know what I mean.
For the people listening at home, what would you define a influencer as? Is it the girls that sell the flat tummy tea?
Yeah, Mike, that's for you.
Okay, well, I can't see you guys, so I have to guess. I mean, I think there's two parts. When I think of an influencer, I actually think more of like Buddy Holly or Les Paul, because in my mind, somebody who is an influencer was somebody that uses a product and actually has a use for that thing, and they really like it, and you can actually understand why they would use that thing. But I think what it's come to mean now is essentially a person you pay to take Instagram photos or make a YouTube video about your product. So I don't really see there being much difference in most cases just between it being an ad, but it's just kind of like a clever word that people use to make it sound like a new and fresh type of marketing. But really, it's just no different than an advertisement.
So I want to put it out here, Hambone, and I've gotten a little bit of heat on this on the Twitters. I hate anybody who calls themselves an influencer.
Yeah, it's like when you go around telling people that you're funny.
Or a rock star, or cool, or if you make up your own nickname.
Which I didn't do.
Yeah, I know.
Thank God.
It's a weird story anyway.
Hey.
But I'm blown away by just the amount of people. It's like thought leader, or you know what my favorite is, Mike? Futurist.
Ooh, that's the most douchey of them all.
Yes, very high.
Good gig if you can get it, though, right?
Amen, brother.
I mean, I can tell what the future is. Like, how many times, how often do you have to predict the future to be able to use the word futurist?
Once. It's got to be just once. It's like cock push-ups, only one.
Or it's like wouldn't you use it for something more like winning the lottery?
Yes.
Like if I could see the future, it would not be to judge whether or not like some new thing happens. It would be to win the lottery.
Yeah, stock market, lottery, how I die. The only 3 things I really need to know to survive this world.
So Fyre Festival, 2 documentaries dropped earlier this week, one on Hulu, one on Netflix. It was crazy because like Hulu never announced theirs and then waited till fucking like Netflix let up the embargo for the reviews, dropped at the same time. SEO masterpiece because everybody was searching for Fyre Festival documentary and Hulu was popping up on the top.
That's a level of pettiness I could really get behind.
Yeah, but we're here to talk a little bit. We didn't talk about the Fyre Festival enough when it was happening. It was an amazing thing that unfolded. Mike, I want to know first of all, like, why would people pay $10,000 to see Blink-182? We've seen them for a lot less when they were a lot more popular, and they sucked live.
I mean, I've seen Blink-182, and they're not not the greatest live experience. I'll agree with that. I mean, I think, right, if you break it down, well, I'm going to pay $10,000 to go and see a bunch of bands. Like, that's crazy, right? Because you could see those bands anywhere. I think why people were actually paying $10,000 is what I think of as, the fake baller fantasy, right? If I pay $10,000, I can suddenly become part of this elite world where it's, half-dressed models running around and everyone wears gold chains that cost 6 months' salary. And, I've got 3 speedboats. I've got 2 that just sit there I look at. And I think that's what people are buying into, right, is the fantasy. And I think that's where it kind of gets scary with the influencer piece because, I'm concerned that people don't know what's fake and what's real anymore. And I think like influencers blurring that line is a little bit terrifying. And it's funny, after I watched the Netflix Fyre Festival documentary this weekend, the first thing I said was, oh, wow, I'm pretty sure that Instagram is just like signed, sealed, and delivered the doom of human society after watching this.
So for those who do not know, and everyone should go watch this documentary this weekend, or either of those. The Hulu one I liked was a little bit more about the financial nuance behind it. It was a lot about following really the co-creator of Billy McFarland as he's becoming a scumbag through life. life.
Well, no. Let's not say that. He's always been a scumbag.
Yeah, well,
But
the
he was
rise of
revealed.
scumminess.
Yeah.
And it really goes with interviews. And they got an interview maybe by some like pretty sleazy methods themselves. I think they paid him a lot of money to get that interview. Netflix went the other route and mostly focused on the news events, though that documentary was supposedly created by the shitty marketing firm that the Fyre Festival hired to do it.
So fuck Jerry, and I'm not saying fuck Jerry. Fuck Jerry is the actual name of the company. Fuck Jerry. A lot of people follow them on the Instagram. They put up memes and pictures and little things that are supposed to make you laugh, and they're also a major social media company. And they went and got into bed with Billy McFarland and did all the crazy social media, which was fucking genius, by the way, to get the Fyre Festival off the ground. Now, when everything went south, they made their own documentary about how bad it was. And, of course, they've got firsthand information. They had a front row seat for the whole thing.
Yeah, I don't know if you knew that, Mike, because the Hulu documentary outs it at the very end of the documentary.
That's actually what Hambone just brought up about fuck Jerry making it. To me, that's actually the most interesting part of this entire situation, because I think, so I don't know, and I won't get too deep down this rabbit hole, right? But if you work at an ad agency or in that industry, the way that the billing is structured. So basically, you sign on to a project like the Fyre Festival, you get a little bit of money up front, and then you're promised a whole bunch of money after the thing is finished. So I think what's interesting here, right, is you've got fuck Jerry. They were probably, I mean, I won't even guess how many hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars they were offered to have this account for a year or 2 years. They go into this thing, they put all this work in it, they're taking on a bunch of costs. They see the entire thing fall apart. They've got bills to pay. So the only way for them to, recoup their money is to then say, well, what do we have? We've got all this footage. Let's sell it to Netflix and try to make back some of that money. So I think that's kind of fascinating, that the way that the billing works and the money gets moved around in these things.
Well, good for them. Someone had to get paid for this whole debacle.
Well, to be clear and fair, I don't know if you saw the New York Times article, Hambone, but the one lady, the lady who handled their catering, was out thousands of dollars, tens of thousands of dollars.
She spent over $50,000.
Yeah, is. They put a GoFundMe up for her, and it's well surpassed what she was asking for.
120K is what it had.
So at least somebody, I think it has 150 already.
Oh, cool.
So I'm super happy she's getting paid. But
well, let's walk it back for a second, because for the people listening at home who might not have seen the documentaries yet, what the Fyre Festival was supposed to be was this big aspirational, if you are an influencer, if you are a person who wants to be seen, to have more than you have, or to be kind of that living your best life on the internet, Instagram famous, they sold this festival to, and they actually said it in the documentary, which I thought was interesting, that Billy McFarland was like, well, who are we making this festival for? He's like, well, we're selling it to these morons in the Midwest that, just want to hang out with models and think that life is better on the other side of your phone screen. And so they sold this entire festival on that concept, and it went over like gangbusters. And it went over to the point where they were selling out of everything and just kept making up events that they didn't even think of, just to keep selling and making more money. And Billy McFarland got in the business of robbing Peter to pay Paul, and the entire thing was put on an island that was not meant to have a live music festival, that couldn't accommodate a few thousand people for the festival.
Maybe, I think it was 10,000 people.
Yeah, and then wackiness ensues. It turned into a little bit of the Lord of the Flies.
Let's not forget Ja Rule.
Oh, Ja Rule, who was just on Twitter yesterday, since the documentaries have come out, saying that he's the victim. Ja
Rule also was caught in the Hulu documentary. I don't know where they got the footage of it, but him basically saying it was all his idea. It was all his thing. Oh, yeah. And now he's making his own app that's very similar to what the Fyre Festival was, which is a way to get rich people or upper middle class people. I don't know who the hell would do this. I mean, shit, if I can get the Coffin Cats for $5,000, I would do it. But it basically matches up people's budgets to bands they could afford for their parties. And it's like a swipe left, swipe right. Like, I can get Coldplay for this much. But he's actually doing it now. He's taking an idea, and Ja Rule's making it. And I've always considered Ja Rule maybe a step above DMX. Would you agree, Mike?
I mean, even that, I think is giving him a lot more credit. And then I would even go a step further here and say, if you're the kind of person, which I'm certainly not, who could and would want to have Coldplay, could afford to have Coldplay come and play at your birthday party or whatever, would you trust that through an app? And I think that transaction, right? That's how the Fyre Festival happened. Like, oh, well, the app says it's okay. Here, take my money. And I think like Fyre Festival's at the small end of it, but then it would go all the way up to booking like, you know, Coldplay or Lady Gaga or whoever. Like that seems just like absolute madness. But you know, where things appear to be heading with the whole influencer world.
It's kind of crazy because they went so far as it was going, telling people who, and well, first off, anyone who had any kind of dissent towards the Fyre Festival, a guy who's in the documentary who ends up taking them to court starts making a fake Twitter account to expose the Fyre Fest. So they are burning left and right any kind of negative press that comes out about it. Throughout all this, they're like, oh, hey, it's going to be a cashless event, so you know you might want to put like $3,000 on like this like ID wristband to make sure you have money to last the whole week. And people are putting like $300 a day,
like a magic band at Disney,
that they didn't even have yet, and people just did it because the app told them to.
So look, it was a Ponzi scheme. I mean, it was one giant Ponzi scheme.
Oh my god!
Like he was just trying to pay previous vendors with new schemes. But all right, so let's back up a little bit to that app that we're talking about. Mike, you were known as the godfather of the West Orange punk rock scene, right? Just about. Just agree.
So I agree. I've heard that said before.
So had you had this app 20 years ago, would it have been a shitload easier to have booked Felix Frump in your backyard?
I mean, hopefully, as long as they had an option in the app that you could just pay them with like a case of Coca-Cola and a case of Bud Light, as long as that was one of the payment options, yeah, it would have been beautiful.
How much did Less Than Jake cost back then?
Honestly, I could be wrong, but I'm fairly certain Less Than Jake played just for whatever we passed the hat for, because we definitely didn't have any money. So, I mean, they probably played for like, maybe they got like $100, maybe.
That's a ska band. It's like 6 members.
Well, they were a ska. All right, so Less Than Jake was a little bit different. They weren't just. It wasn't like the Toasters. It was like.
There were still 6 when they were around here. There was 6 members in that band.
There was a lot of them. I don't think there was quite that many. I don't remember. Was there that many back then, Mike? They just had one horn paper.
3 horn players.
They definitely, I mean, I would say it was at least 6 people. It might have been even more than that. And they also had like roadies. They were on a legitimate tour, so they had like a crew to feed. Yeah, but I think, you know, it was 4th of July, and I think they needed a place to play. We had a backyard, and they were game to do it.
So we spent the last couple of weeks talking to a bunch of musicians about, you know, whether the scene is different now or whether we're just old. I think it's basically where we're going. It's the argument we're making, and everybody's like, nah, it's just like the whole way you consume music and get to music and see music is completely different. But I'm so for that type of app, but like for the low end. Like, I want it to be like, yeah, you could do Coldplay if you want, but if you also want to somehow get just rando punk band, you could do that. And then you could always, you know, you could have birthday parties with punk bands again.
That'd be fun.
I don't know. I probably am just an old man. That was my favorite take from the Fyre Festival.
Could you imagine me getting Rance to play at my mom's house in Wayne? And like Tim Armstrong meeting my mother?
No, only because
Little Dolores would panic.
I don't even know what they would cost.
She wouldn't know what to do.
I used to kind of know what the Asbury Lanes would offer, but like that was just it wasn't too bad. Mike, what would it take? So part of this, we're talking about the Fyre Festival. What Hambone does not know is that we're also giving him a makeover tonight.
What?
We are going to turn him into an influencer.
Dude, I will never be skinny enough to be an influencer.
Hambone is like running his own production company now and has the worst social media presence ever.
I'm pretty bad at it.
And I'm just like, I won't show me his business plan. So we are fully consumed. I fully think he doesn't have one. So I've decided that we need to bring in a professional to make him an influencer so he can boost his production company. Michael Dolan, what would it take to make Hambone an influencer as fast as we can? Go.
I mean, if I were to give my professional opinion on this, I actually think this would be kind of simple because, right, one thing that like creepy marketing people like me do, right? You look at what's trending, you know, what's hot right now, and the as crazy as it sounds, that if you told teenage me this sitting in a basement that the coolest thing right now would be Dungeons and Dragons, I would have, like, you know, thrown myself onto 280. but I mean, I think there's a big opening right now for people who have RPG and Dungeons and Dragons credibility. Like that's a legitimate thing right now. So I mean,
20-sided die tattoo, y'all.
There you go. Like, I mean, who's got that kind of like credibility? You know, you do that, you get one or two RPG themed catchphrases on a T-shirt. You start getting those T-shirts seen in the right places. I think you're well on your way to becoming an influencer.
You could be the Peter Rosenberg of RPGs.
Thank you.
Like, but we need to like step this up. Like,
We do.
you need to work social media. You need to get on Instagram and not just do stories with just advertisements. You need to show the life of Bone.
It's mostly me in my basement just editing things together so people sound good.
You see, up till now, I've just been playing up the fact that you used to be a somewhat rock star.
I had my moment.
But I've realized that Pensy Prep is not going to get you that far.
No, not
Neither
really.
will Leathermouse or whatever they're called. I can't get
Leathermouth.
Leathermouth.
Although Leathermouse is kind of a fun name.
I confuse them with leather band.
Leatherface.
Leatherface.
There's
Yeah,
a lot of leather bands.
I know, but anyway, so I've realized that's a failure because nobody tell you listens to that type of music.
Nah.
And judging by the fact that I'm the only one who wants reissues of Pensy Prep vinyl, that's as far as we can get. So we gotta go with the vintage RPG stuff.
We're getting there.
Or modern stuff.
We're getting there.
All right,
We're talking about it.
because I have a feeling you being an influencer will also get you laid.
George.
Dude, influencers get laid. Mike, tell them this.
I think they get laid on Instagram.
They get laid on Instagram. I mean, look at Kendall Jenner. Is she the one? I don't really know.
She's worth like $1 billion.
Yes, you could be the Kendall Jenner of Gen X Dungeon Dragon RPG playing people who there's women who want that. They've got to be women. Look at what went to the Fyre Festival. You see all those attractive people?
Yeah, that's not my wheelhouse. They don't like all this. Nothing that went to the Fyre Festival wants to have sex with any of this.
When we were in high school, like nobody liked punk rockers, and then all of a sudden the cheerleaders had green hair, and guess who's getting laid? Mike.
You must have been thinking of a different me having any women in high school. 'Cause that was not me. But what if this is the pitch? What if instead of the Fyre Festival, we have the Fireball Festival, and it'll be a Dungeons and Dragons themed getaway on an island, and you get dropped off on an island, and the next thing you know, you find yourself outside a Tomb of Horrors like village populated by influencers. Now, I think this is an idea that might have some legs.
I think it's got legs.
I cast Fireball.
Yeah.
You can block it with whatever the fuck you want, but I will win, dude. I think it'd be great. I think you mix that up with a little bit of Lord of the Rings, Lord of the Flies. You run around naked and like influencers everywhere, and just as long as there is like multiple like levels of dungeons and double-sided dice. I know nothing about an RPG,
But I love that you're trying. Thank you.
My level of ADHD does not allow me to play any game that requires more than like 5 minutes or is called Red Dead Redemption.
There you go.
Anyway, do you recommend the Fyre Festival documentaries to people? Is there one you liked more than the other?
So it's interesting because for me, I watched the Hulu one first, obviously, because it came out first, and I was sitting there thinking to myself, man, I can't. I have to watch this other one because we're going to talk about it on the show. And then I started watching the other one, and I was completely enveloped in them. And I think to myself, I can't believe in 1 week I watched 2 different documentaries on the same subject. They're both equally as good. I like the Netflix one a little better because it got me a little more mad when I saw the people who work on the island who didn't get paid. Because, yeah, Hulu is more, we fucked over influencers and millennials. Netflix is more, no, we fucked over everybody, including people who like worked for like 60 days straight and didn't get paid a dime.
Do we know if they were the people that also killed the pigs at the Big Exiters? I don't know the name of those islands.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, do you know those pigs?
Yeah.
Like, someone like got them drunk and they all died?
No, that sounds like probably something that would have happened in the Hulu documentary.
Possible.
Yeah.
I meant in general, it wasn't covered on either of the documentaries.
I would say watch them both. They're actually definitely both worth watching. You get more out of one than you do the other for different reasons.
I was a bigger fan of the Hulu one.
Yeah.
Only because I just liked the backstory. I also thought it was edited a little bit better.
Yeah.
I liked it a little more. It was a little bit more spin polished. The Netflix one, though, was great. I loved the behind the scenes footage that only the Fuck Jerry people could have gotten. Mike, I know you've only watched the one. I do recommend you go watch the other one as well.
I would like to see that. I'm not a possessor of a Hulu account, so
We'll try to figure a way around that. But Mike, we were just talking about the only thing I can handle, which is quick bursts of video games. And one thing I found out about you, you are the only person in the world who likes Fallout 76.
Yeah.
And I felt we needed to give you a sidebar to just let us know why we should reconsider this game after it turned out to be a colossal failure for so many levels.
I will be happy to jump to the defense of Fallout 76, and I will. And I mean, George, you know this about me. I'll give the quick backstory. Is that I love the Fallout series. I've probably played more hours in those games than anything, and I play a lot of video games. It's, one of my all-time favorite activities for multiple decades. So I love Fallout 76 because I think what I've loved about all the Fallout games, right, is there's a really good story. Like, I'm happy to admit that during Fallout 4, there were multiple points in the game where I was hysterically crying because I was so invested in the story, and so many, like, heartbreaking things happen. And that same story continues in Fallout 76. And I think what I saw, I think why people don't like it, I think there's two reasons. I think one, it's really, really, really hard. It's one of the most difficult video games that I've ever played. I mean, before you even get the first little bit of like joy or relaxation, you probably put like 15 or 20 hours into the game.
Wow.
And that's not how video games are designed anymore. And the second reason I think that it's gotten such a bad rap is, I mean, I don't know, maybe Bethesda released it a little bit early and there were like some glitches, but I think this was actually a case of, the internet echo chamber where people were talking about like everyone was having these terrible glitches and the experience and like things weren't working, they were broken. Like, I didn't have those, and a lot of things I think people said were broken in the game were actually just things they put in to make it really difficult. Like, you can only store 600 pounds worth of equipment. It's like, well, that makes the game hard, and people like to hoard stuff. So I think it's very different than the way people are used to playing video games. So, I mean, I love it. I play it every minute that I can since the day that it came out. And I've actually, I put down Red Dead Redemption to only play Fallout 76.
Wow.
I'm holding out for Red Dead just to see if I would like to play their online game once it's out of beta. I mean, that's basically where I'm at right now. I just kind of want a polished thing to start playing. I will eventually give Fallout 76 a chance. Has it gotten better since things have been updated?
Yeah, I mean, for whatever reason, other than like the occasional getting knocked off the server, like I haven't had any really terrible sort of technical glitches or things that are broken. Like I haven't had any bugged quests. So no, I mean, for me, it's been great. And I think the improvements that they've made have been very, very specific. Like, certain things for like the frame rate being better and just making things a little bit more smoothly, other than it taking a long time to load and get onto the game for when you first started up. Like, that's really my only major gripe. And I would also say, now that I'm like fairly far into the game, some of the storytelling, and I won't give out spoilers for people, but some of the storytelling is as good or better as what is in Fallout 4. You're just not dealing with human, NPCs. You're dealing with notes and audio tapes and things like that. So it's just a different way to experience and tell a story.
Okay, I will give it a chance. I am a huge Fallout fan. Fallout 3 changed video games for me, made me love video games again, so I will give it a chance. Mike, thank you so much for joining us today. How can the kids reach you?
I am on Twitter at Michael Dolan, so shout me out if you want to talk about influencers, or actually more importantly, shout me out if you want to team up and do some raids in Fallout 76. That's what I'm really about.
Thank you so much, Mike. We'll have you on again soon. Take care.
Mike. George, Hambone, thanks, guys.
Well, I'm glad to see we're not the only ones who love the Fyre Festival and have become obsessed with it.
Well, yeah, the documentaries are amazing.
And I do want to like Fallout 76. I get it. I'm a huge fan. I have the Pip-Boy that George got me.
I'm shocked you didn't get the helmet.
I'm glad I didn't. You heard how shitty that was.
Yeah, I heard how shitty it was.
As well as the rum. Did you hear about the rum?
No.
The rum was shipped in a like shitty Coca-Cola plastic bottle, not glass. So you paid $80 for like shitty rum. You're never gonna drink it in a shitty bottle. Festival. Yeah, they've been getting just reamed left and right, and that's something I'm glad I didn't put the money down for the rum bottle either.
I mean, they had the Nuka-Cola bottles that were actual glass.
So also this week we had the launch of the binge dumping. What's the word for it? The drop of Punisher season 2.
Yes.
I'm counting down the moments for when Netflix announces that Punisher has 2 been canceled.
I would say give it like 2 more weeks.
Yeah, they waited a little bit with this one. Daredevil was like the next day.
It's and you know what? I'm sure that the numbers dropped off immediately once they announced it's canceled. Because of course, why are people going to continue to watch a show when they know it's been canceled? So to give themselves a little buffer, I'm sure they wait at least 2 weeks, or they're going to wait until after they cancel Jessica Jones.
I wonder if they see it, like if they saw with Daredevil, like they announced it very quickly. If they saw an immediate like drop in people watching it,
they had to.
Because I know I stopped after episode 1. And I should continue. Everybody said it was fantastic.
Fantastic.
So I only saw a couple episodes of the new Punisher. You binge watched the whole thing.
Come on, son.
You
able to watch
left
anything.
me bored out of my mind all week, and I was waiting for you to call me up and say, George, do you want to play Fallout?
Do
you want to play Fallout?
It's
the
winter.
board
It's
game?
hard for me to like leave the house sometimes.
And instead it was like, no, I'm just going to sit here and watch 28 hours of television.
Well, in fairness, I watched like 30 hours of television. I edited a bunch of podcasts, and then like I ate some stuff. I know, it's very sexy.
This will be a lot better once we work on his influencer campaign. So Punisher season 2 picks up where the last season left off.
Yes.
And I want to know, first of all, we already talked about the Death Watch of when it's going to get canceled.
Right.
But I want to know where we stand with the Punisher not becoming a joke of himself. And this is like the question we've had forever. When does the Punisher just become a caricature of himself?
So here's the thing. I watched all 13 episodes, and the first thing I'm going to say, my first takeaway, they could have did it in 10. And this is the problem I think Netflix has with most of their series. I think Iron Fist 2 would have been a better show if they had knocked it out in 10 episodes, maybe even 8 episodes. Netflix Marvel series have become completely formulaic and mostly filler, not all killer. And a show like The Punisher should be killer. I was actually having a great conversation with our friend George about this, and I said, so...
Not me.
Not you, the other George. The one I live with. The Punisher, like, when you're a kid, like, the things you loved about the Punisher, he drove a cool van, he had a lot of guns, he, like, killed everybody, he blew stuff up, like, it was just him. Essentially, if you look at 80s, 90s Punisher, it's just him, like, walking around and killing stuff. There's not much to it. Like, I couldn't tell you, outside of the Punisher origin story, like, looking back, like, I could tell you, like, stories of, like, different comic books that I've read where I could recite entire storylines. Forget it. You could go on and on about the X-Men, different storylines. I can't find a single person that I know who could go back and be like, oh, man, this one Punisher storyline. I got some of that, say, from later era Garth Ennis Punisher, but nonetheless, like...
Wait. What about the story arc where Punisher became a black man?
Okay, so I remember that one.
I'll never forget that storyline.
I remember that one where he was in prison and he had the plastic surgery. But I remember that one because it was so fucking ridiculous. Like, it should never have happened. But here we are. Most of the Punisher that I remember is him teaming up with Spider-Man, him in the jungle with Wolverine. Like, I remember more about, like, the Punisher Armory books where they talked about, like, his technology than I do the actual Punisher. So that said, the one thing that you want the Punisher to do, which is, like, go on a berserk killing spree, you don't get until the last minute and a half of the series.
Oh.
The entire series. Now, it starts off, he's drifting. He's out in the world. He's in Michigan, of all places. He walks into a bar, meets a beautiful barmaid. They make love. He meets her kid. He feels kind of a sense of humanity again. And then something happens. There's, like, a bar fight. People are chasing this girl. The girl gets shot. Lives, but she gets shot, and he leaves town and he saves this other girl, and they go on this, like, wacky adventure. And that's, like, the whole series, and it just takes you to this point where, by rights, and I'm going to give you little spoilers here, by rights in the comics, like, you meet this girl, you're drifting in town, girl gets shot. In a Punisher comic, or any kind of story back in the day, she would have gotten a bag of money from the mob at the end, like, sorry I got you shot, and, you know, almost left your son without a mother. But no, she just goes away after, like, the second or third episode. And then it just drags on and on and on. And there's so many fucking monologues in this show, and, like, yeah, the action is gory. They have gotten so gory and over the top with some of the deaths and some of the violence in this. But you know the one thing that they skimped out on? So the most memorable character in the Punisher series is his arch nemesis, Jigsaw, whose face looks like a fucking jigsaw puzzle sewn back together poorly by a blind person, and it's like a leather face mask, except it's a human face actually stitched back together. So he creates Jigsaw in the end, and I did air quotes for you listening at home, in the end of the first season by smashing his buddy's face repeatedly into glass. Now his buddy was a very handsome man. His buddy was a very dapper man. So when the reveal happens that he's Jigsaw and he's wearing a mask. He's wearing a mask to mask his face for the first several episodes. When they finally fucking reveal him as Jigsaw, do you know what he has? A pretty cute face. He ain't bad.
And a scar.
And he's got 3 scars. No one would kick him out of bed for eating crackers. He's still kind of hot. What the fuck?
And
what in the actual fuck?
And he wears a jigsaw mask, correct?
He wears a jigsaw kind of face mask. It's like an Oscar mask, except it's got the American flag on it and some skull stuff on it. And so he's got PTSD because, spoilers, everyone in the Netflix Marvel series has PTSD over something. And it's just, I'm sitting here watching and I am enjoying it, but I'm kind of waiting because I'm okay, I know it's a Netflix series. I know it's going to build up to something. I know something's going to happen. Something big's going to go down. And then nothing fucking happens. And then even the person who he was kind of going after, he kind of makes a deal with, and then it's the same fucking Batman super. Oh, your mother's name is Martha too? I don't know how you could fuck up the Punisher. He is a killing machine. He goes around killing bad guys. That's kind of all he does. You did I was a soldier, my family's dead, all the PTSD stuff in season 1. You could have just let him off the chain, because the guy who plays the Punisher is a magnificent actor. He's a magnificent Punisher, and they never actually let him do any Punisher shit until the last minute and a half of the fucking series. Sorry I don't let you get a word in there.
Wow. I don't even know where to begin.
You know what I just did? I just saved you 10 hours of your life. You're welcome.
So you think people shouldn't watch this?
No.
Wow.
You know what? I love Netflix. Cool. But I'm just sitting here going, man, and it's funny because I remember they kept pushing it back because of, and understandably they pushed it back a lot because there was a lot of violence actually happening in America. I get that. However, for what it turns out to be, I don't get why they pushed it back.
They pushed back the first season, not this season.
Oh, I thought they pushed back
this season. No, this season was not pushed back.
Forgive me. Either way, wasn't worth it.
So since you just ate the whole segment, you literally took it, you put some salt and pepper on it, you cooked it for 5 minutes just so it was a little bit, just a little bit medium, and then you just ate the fucking Punisher sandwich so no one else can say anything. And I'll give that to you because I will, because I talked too much, because I talked the entire last episode.
It's okay.
And I felt terrible, and then you presented this amazing present to me. So instead, I'm going to pose another question to you.
Go for it.
Because we saw the John Wick 3 trailer drop this week.
Yeah, we did.
And it was fucking insane.
It was so good.
Is John Wick really what the Punisher should be if done right at this point?
110%.
Except the fact that all this blood and gore is because of his dog that died and not necessarily because, or his car was destroyed, not because his family was murdered. That said...
Well, nonetheless, it's what the Punisher should be.
It is, and it's so well done. And the fact that, especially in the last one, and I know in this one, John Wick is the one being chased, not necessarily the one punishing. I think they actually do. John Wick does the Punisher the way it should be.
Amen.
I'm very excited for the John Wick movie. We will see it. On another note, Glass got terrible reviews.
I heard that.
And that was the other thing. I was hoping on Sunday you'd say, hey, George, how about tonight? Maybe we'll go see Glass. You want to go out?
All right, listen. I know I need to get better about leaving my house. I am working on it. I am working on it.
But the funny thing about Glass was the reviews are terrible. That said, the fan reviews, the skew is opposite. So I think Glass is a good watch on demand.
Well, I mean, so here's the thing with a movie like Glass, right? Our friend Jen was talking about it last night, and she made a lot of sense because she was saying I was getting terrible reviews. With what happened with Unbreakable, it had the Shyamalan twist, right? What happened with what's the other one? Stitcher? Not Stitcher.
Blanking completely right now.
So with the other one, with the Beast in it, Split, there was a twist, a Shyamalan twist. But now, kind of all the twists, it's just a superhero movie.
Do you want me to blow your mind a little bit?
Blow my mind.
So I'm reading, we're all over the place today, and we only have about 15 minutes left, but I am reading Dr. Sleep by Stephen King. Dr. Sleep is the sequel to The Shining.
Oh, cool.
It's very well done. It's not really a sequel. It's more just like the story of Danny 30 years later.
Yeah.
He's alcoholic. He's all fucked up. He's still got The Shining. He meets other people who also have The Shining. And what I realized The Shining was, M. Night Shyamalan Ding Dong basically just ripped The Shining off with Sixth Sense.
Whoa.
Right? I see dead people. I see them all the time. They can't hurt you unless you let them. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Like, I'm sorry, but
It's any episode now, my mind.
yeah, Sixth Sense was The Shining, except it didn't go into into a world of dementia as the book did. And I'm enjoying the new book because it's the story of Dan finds this other little girl. There is a kind of like almost a vampiric cult of people who they can eat mutants that have the power that someone like Danny or these other people have. There seems to be a lot of these
like cannibals.
You know how the black person in The Shining also had that power,
yes.
The caretaker? So there's other people out there who have this mixture of telekinesis and telepathy and seeing dead people. There's this vampire cult, except they're not vampires in the traditional sense, that will go and destroy and eat them when they're ripe at like 10 years old and absorb their essence and then become young again.
Okay, that tracks.
Yeah, it tracks for a Stephen King thing. It's actually very good. I'm about halfway through it. But I thought about it, I'm like, wow, that's The Sixth Sense. This one definitely plays more on the mutant factor than the alcoholic dad going nuts factor.
Cool.
At least so far. But so I do recommend Dr. Sleep so far. Let's talk a little bit about True Detectives.
Yes.
True Detectives was a show that had a very interesting, a very powerful first season that I can't say was necessarily good because I found the last act to be, they did all this weird fiction that didn't pay off. It was like weird for the sake of being weird, but it was good.
I'll agree with you there. I think that the ending felt a little shoehorned.
The journey was better than the destination.
Right.
Season 2 sucked.
Yeah.
Sucked balls. It was bad. It was like a really bad show. I think it's because the writer, much like you've been saying forever, it's your thing. You know, your first album is the album you work your life towards, and your follow-up. That was a situation where he spent all his life writing that first story and then just had no idea to follow it up.
Yeah, probably had no idea it was going to get picked up for like a major HBO program.
HBO did the right thing. Instead of shit-canning him in the show, they decided to just give him more time to write the next season.
Right.
They gave him an extra year. And the first 3 episodes have been very, very good. It follows the story of a detective through 3 decades, the early 80s, the early 90s, and current day. Where in the 80s, he was a young detective who found out 2 kids were missing, and he has to go find them in a small town and find out what happened to them, whether they're dead or not, and whatever weird creepiness is involved. That the 90s are them reopening the case because of sloppy detective work or something, and the current one is him going back as an older man who might have dementia, trying to figure out what went wrong with the case and remembering things he couldn't remember before.
Right.
He's played by, and I'm going to screw up his name. So
Mahershala Ali.
Really, thank you very much. You did that much better than I could
I've
have.
been practicing, and I still might be saying it wrong, but I'm sorry if I did.
Much like the first season, the acting is second to none.
Oh my god! And Stephen Dorff, amazing.
So I'm 3 episodes, and we're 3 episodes,
Yeah,
and that's where we're at.
episodes,
HBO does not binge. Do you think HBO should binge? Like, would you like this more if you could binge, or do you like? Is it so dark that it's nice to have a breather?
So let me qualify this.
Mm-hmm.
I love binge watching TV. I love watching television. I've realized that there are different ways to do it because I love the Netflix model because you'll binge something. But sometimes I just want to keep going and going and going, but there's not enough hours in the day, or I do need to go to sleep at some point. I like the way that, what the DC streaming service is doing right now with Young Justice, which is what I'm excited about this week. I'll talk about it a little later. They're dropping 3 episodes at a time. And I think dropping something in 3 episodes chunks gives you enough time to be satisfied and then get excited and give yourself like a week to kind of like think about it a little bit and then want more. I think 3 episode chunks, 4 episode chunks, maybe depending on the length of the show, is kind of a better way to drop things. But one at a time, that shit sucks.
I am really enjoying this story. I sometimes feel like I need to rewatch an episode to pick up overlook the little nuances because there's a lot of conversation.
Yeah.
And when they find shit's great. The main character is got almost like a, I don't want to say sixth sense because we just made fun, but he's got this tracker ability in the army when he was in, I guess, Vietnam. He was a tracker, and he basically would find where the bodies are.
Yeah.
And that's what he does here. And they haven't said that there's any supernatural stuff yet. But you feel it almost.
And that's what I like about it. What I liked about the first season, where ultimately you knew there was something odd and supernatural happening, but they don't make it overt. They give it kind of an ambiance where you feel it throughout every episode, and it's like kind of just scratching at you a little bit, and you know it's there, but they're not beating you over the head with it, which in the end of this, if it turns out to not be a supernatural thing, you're kind of like cool with it. It was just a general eeriness, but I think there's something supernatural going on.
Like, I love, there's this one, I don't know if he's Native American or not, but I feel like he might be. Junker, he's also a former vet who basically, he is a junker now. He goes about collecting trash, and he may or may not have seen his children. He's a very high up, what do you call it, not witness, suspect. He's a person of interest. And they...
watch all the cop shows.
And it, gets out there that he might be a person of interest, and he gets fined by a bunch of hillbilly hicks, and they beat the shit out of him. And I just like you could tell he is a former Marine because he fights them back. Like, you could tell. And then when he runs in and grabs that suitcase or that bag, I just want to know. I just want to see him kick all their asses.
Yeah.
And just all the characters in this show are written so well.
So well.
I can't recommend True Detectives more. I think it's worth a shot. If you hated season 3 or were let down a little by season 1, but you want to re-feel what you felt, the feels you had in season 1, I think season 3 is definitely worth checking out.
Or you know what's great about this? You could just start at season 3 because each season is an independent story.
It's like Fargo, which I believe also was given a year to relax.
Yeah.
And Fargo is one of my favorite shows on television.
And that's another show where season 2, it jumps in quality.
Yes. Every season gets better and better. No, not down though.
No, up.
Up. I think they're on season 4.
Yeah.
Like, it gets better and better and better.
Well, no, that's the thing. Season 1 was a little kind of a grind to get through, but then season 2 was just like...
Fargo, I think, was just a slow build.
Yeah.
But I think it's great. I definitely check. And you can also just wait till the end of True Detectives and binge it.
Like Hambone does.
Yeah, just binge it then. So there you go. Now, a show I haven't watched, but everyone has recommended to me. I just have never been a fan of the universe, is Star Trek. Star Trek Discovery?
Yes.
Season 2 just came out.
Ooh, yeah, it did.
I've heard mixed reactions to the first episode. Talk to me.
I loved it.
You loved it.
You know what? I thought season 1 was a perfect season of television. Mm-hmm. And in the very end, in the very last thing, and we're going to go into a little bit of spoilers here, but the Enterprise shows up. And the one main...
Which one?
The original, Enterprise.
My Enterprise,
Your
the
Enterprise.
Next Generation.
Okay, so this is the TOS, the original series. And one of the main characters, Michael Burnham, her half-brother, or her step-brother, is Spock. So you're like, oh, shit, it's about to go on. But I'm kind of like, I don't know, man. I'm not ready to see Captain Kirk. I don't need to see Captain Kirk in this world.
Nope.
And it's Commander Pike. And in episode 1, they open up the doors, and the commander coming onto the deck of the Discovery is Commander Pike. And the guy who they got to play Commander Pike is awesome. And the series is one of the most fast-paced science fiction series that I've ever seen. It is... You're constantly, there's action for action's sake, and then there's the action that has your heart in your chest. Like, you're going to want to put down your phone, and you're going to want to watch what's happening, because they are constantly moving at a fast pace. And then when they slow it down, they're really good at doing the drama. They're very good at doing the interpersonal stories and the character development. So I am super, super psyched that Discovery is back. And my one complaint with it is that as I've gotten a little bit older and more mature, I realize that trailers kind of suck because no one knows how to cut a trailer anymore. They want to tantalize you. They want to get you excited to watch more of the series or watch the movie that's coming out, and they end up showing you some stuff where you can't unsee it. And it would have been so much cooler if they had let it happen organically, and you're watching the show and you have that moment. Because there's an honest-to-God moment in the season trailer for the rest of the season where Michael Burnham and her stepbrother Spock are smooching. they're hard making out. I mean, I know that, like, you know, the stepbrother stepsister porno is big on the internet these days, but man, I don't know about Spock and his half sister.
But is it okay if they're alien?
I don't know, man. It was jarring because I think that's something where there's a lot of deep history that they've alluded to in the first episode between Michael and Spock. Michael Scott in the fucking office, my God. And I want to know what's going on. But then I see this trailer and I see them making out. It's just like, well, did she develop feelings for him? Is that the whole thing? That's why they haven't talked in like 20 years? Like, come on, man. I wanted to see that happen as it happened. Like, the trailer has kind of ruined things for the show. That said, watch Star Trek Discovery. It's awesome.
Look, I feel for you with the incest sex thing.
No, it's not that necessarily. It's just that if that was going to be a thing, like, you got to let things. You got to. No. When things are supposed to happen in a story, let me get there when I get there.
So I understand where you're coming from. I understand your awkwardness and the weird feels you have, because I'm in the middle of watching BoJack Horseman, and I'm getting deep into these seasons when there starts to be human on horse and human on dog and human on cat sex, and I didn't know how I would feel about this because bestiality is not my kink. I know it might be yours, but it might be yours, and we're not judging, but we're just saying it might be your thing. I am not, and I thought I would be a little put off by the human on horse sex, but it turns out that on the show, it just doesn't seem to be a thing because they're so much more progressive than our society. Right. And they're just okay understanding that humans and animals are very much the same, and they could be able to copulate. Also, interspecies sex, like, you know, fish and dogs, or birds and fish, or cats and mice, which is a major plot line of the story. They all have sex together, and it's not weird.
Right.
But lots of horse on human sex. It's just very, you know, the main character is BoJack, who's a horse, and you know, the other main character is the Asian Daria, played by the lady from Mad Men and from Glow. I'm blanking on her name right now.
Alison Brie.
Yeah, Alison Brie. They have sex, and it's okay. And I'm just, you know, I'm starting to get okay with it. It seems to be something that again, we should just be more accepting as a society in this, you know, Me Too, you know, era of goodness.
Hey man, I just think that whatever it takes to make your light shine, good for you. Just don't hurt anybody.
So do you recommend Star Trek for people?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I think it's a great show, and I think it's a really good progression for people who loved the original series, people who love the Next Generation, and kind of bringing both worlds together and giving it legs for the modern world where things are a little more action-packed, a little bit faster.
So there you have it. Star Trek. What's the name of it? Darkness? Into the Darkness? No, that's the other one. Discovery. What a horrible name.
It's kind of a shitty name.
It's such a shitty name.
It's the name of the ship.
That's what kills me.
Yeah,
Discovery.
It's the name of the ship.
Discovery.
They could have just called it Star Trek.
I can't. Look, I'll give it a chance because you recommend it, though. Do you need to be a fan of the recent movies to like it?
No, not at all. And in fact, like, you don't even need to be a fan of the original series or even the Next Generation. Like, you could get into this, and hopefully it would encourage you to go back and check out some of the other series of Star Trek. But this is one of those things where they've built it where shit gets explained to you. Just watch it.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Hambone. So let's just tie up a little loose end. The Refused punk rock canon.
In or out?
It's so far it's in. We still have a couple days left.
Right.
Right now it is in. I was expecting the anti-hipster contingent of punk rockers that we're friends with to pummel it so hard.
Yeah.
But it looks like State of Punk to Come will be in the canon. We'll see. There's a few more days left. If you want to vote, go to my Facebook page, Facebook.com/George Coronius. You'll find it. Look me up. It's public.
He looks the same in his photo.
Yeah, I'll be an influencer one day. Not as good as Hambone. But that's definitely very interesting. I think the conversation last week was great. I'm glad that the G.G. Allen documentary people liked it enough to post it on their Facebook page.
So the people who made the documentary are the ones
found
who
it and posted it.
Oh, that's amazing.
Oh yeah, it's the documentary. It's not G.G. Allen.
Oh my God. Okay.
It's all in the family.
I thought it was like a fan site that posted it. I'm like, you're gonna come out Afros with torches.
It's not again, I don't think GGN has a fan site.
Fantastic documentary, by
But
the way.
that said, if Merle Allen or like the mom follow or involved at all in the documentary, they might actually see our review of it, and we talk a little about poop in there.
I said nice things about his mother.
Yes, we loved the movie too. We do recommend it. So, what cool shit do you love this week?
The cool shit that I love this week, I've fallen down another hole. It's Young Justice, which is one of my favorite cartoons in recent years. It's finally back on the DC Universe app. They're releasing it 3 episodes at a time, and they have not lost a step. I mean, I think it's been off the air for a few years now, maybe 4 years. They brought it back. The fans clamored for it. They wanted it back. Netflix almost got it. And the DC is like, whoa, we have all this content. We're going to make our own Netflix for DC. And so it is exceptional. And the other thing, I'm watching a lot of cartoons these days. I watched The Legend of Avatar in its entirety a few months ago. I finally got around to watching The Legend of Korra, which is 4 seasons, 13 episodes apiece, and I've only got like 4 episodes left. So I should leave my house.
The only cartoons I've been watching lately is Puppy Dog Tales.
I saw that upstairs.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Gabe loves Puppy Dog Tales.
That's
Those
awesome.
little big-eyed little pugs.
Who doesn't love a big-eyed little pug? Come on, son.
And I told you
Everyone loves a pug.
upstairs, but like the big challenge we're having right now with him is that he is only a fan of physical comedy.
Yeah, so George informed me that next time I come to the house, if I want to get his son's approval, I have to take a Ric Flair bump.
You have to fall on your face. He'll laugh his ass off. All he watches is fail videos. It's so frightening. Like, I'm so scared as a father that my child only like fail videos. I don't know what to do, but that's the way the world works. My favorite thing this week is the R. Kelly documentary. I finally finished it. Oh my God. Yeah, I got nothing. I mean, he is just, it's R. Kelly being R. Kelly. I mean, this is nothing we didn't know. Like, anyone out there who survived the 90s, especially if you worked at Sam Goody, you knew this guy was a scumbag.
So it's amazing that with, especially since you mentioned the Me Too movement before, if this had happened when the Me Too thing was happening, it would have been all over for R. Kelly. However, I feel like he's been grandfathered in because it happened so long ago. I don't agree with it.
Well, I mean, he got dropped by his label this week.
So that happened?
Yesterday.
Oh, shit.
And obviously, every person who's ever done a duet with him is pulling their songs off the internet, which I don't agree with because I do think that...
I just think it's funny because now they're doing it. Like, look, you're only fucking doing it because of the documentary that came out. But like, listen, everybody knew what was going on, dude. Was it like Chappelle was making like skits about it? How many years ago?
I know. This is just insane. He married Aaliyah when she was like 14. It was like literally he forged documents, and it was just
forgery's a crime.
It was 100%. Look, I can't as a white male. It was very hard for me to even understand how a certain population could feel about him. Clearly, they didn't want to destroy a strong black male who is inspirational to a lot of people. He obviously was very in touch with like the older female church-going society. I Believe I Can Fly.
Right.
He was very much in tune to that. They didn't want to.
Well, they're never going to look at Space Jam again the same way.
They didn't want to destroy him. I've never seen Space Jam. Sorry.
That's the big song for the movie. Yeah.
But it was also sung in like every choir in the world.
Oh yeah.
And this is, but
then the church,
But this is like not only the stuff we knew about, but like he has a sex cult to this day. He has women he keeps in like his home mentally chained with buckets in the corner so they can't get up to go pee or poop.